MT5, MetaTrader 5 has been fighting an uphill battle, as it seems, ever since it's been developed and released more than almost 10 years ago now. But perhaps up until now, because we're going to show you next level trading for MT5 using our Powerbundle with auto optimization. Because as it turns out, our optimization algorithm seems to be working very effectively on MetaTrader 5. It's lightning fast. It gives great signals. So please stay tuned. My name is Daniel Sinek, and I will be your host tonight. And I would like to welcome all of you to this edition of Trading Tech Talk. But before we get started, let's make the lawyers happy and remind everyone that trading contains substantial risk and is not suited for every investor. If you trade, make sure to use risk capital that, should you lose it, will not affect your current lifestyle. When it comes to backtest performance or hypothetical performance, keep in mind that this is not necessarily indicative of future performance. And as always, I will be joined today by my colleagues Homer and Nicholas. They will be manning the chat, and this brings me to the point that should you have any questions, please don't be shy. The more the merrier, the more interactive the session is, the better it will be. And if you're joining us for the very first time, let me introduce ourselves. We are tradingindicators.com, your #1 online store for all your trading needs. Over the years, we've built more than 500 different trading indicators and automated strategies and trading tools. We have clients all over the world. We have retail clients, we have institutional clients, we have trading educators, and we all pursue one common goal: to develop tools which will help you to make better trading decisions and to become better traders. We not only develop trading indicators, as our name suggests, but we also develop, as I mentioned before, automated strategies. We develop trading dashboards, trading apps, and various trading tools. All right. So now, if you're wondering, or if you are joining late, perhaps, is this session going to be recorded? Yes, of course it is. And it will be posted on our YouTube channel right after this Tech Talk. And should you have missed a previous recording or a previous Tech Talk, do not worry. It is also on our YouTube channel, and you can easily find it by going to our homepage, tradingindicators.com. And in the top right corner, you will find a little YouTube icon. Click on it, and it will bring you directly to our YouTube channel. We're not only posting recordings of our Tech Talks there, but also recordings of other videos that we are releasing, educational videos, news announcements, and so forth. So make sure to subscribe and to visit us every once in a while. All right, so we're having these Tech Talks every 2 weeks, and I'd like to bring you up to speed what has happened since the last Tech Talk 2 weeks ago. So what's new? Well, you may have noticed, or some of you may have noticed, that we are currently developing and making changes to our homepage. So we're going to try to make it more streamlined in terms of navigation. It will be vastly improved in terms of responsiveness, and you will be able to see updates and news at a glance much easier. The reason why we're doing this is because we have actually outgrown the initial version of our homepage, because we have so many new products now that we're featuring. So initially we only had a couple, but now over the years we have more than 100 products on our page, and these of course need to be organized in a much better fashion. And we're trying to achieve this by redesigning our homepage. So I'm confident that you will actually like the outcome of it. We're not quite done, so this is a work in progress. We have released an initial change last Friday, and we're going to make more changes this Friday and the weeks after. And as with our, all our development approach, this is going to be incremental, and step by step, we're going to improve our homepage. So please make sure to stop by every once in a while and see what has changed. All right, so what else is new? Well, as you may have guessed from the title, we have released, actually just today, the latest generation of our Powerbundle of auto optimization for MT5 Well, I guess it was not a difficult guess because we had the release for MT4 2 weeks ago, and now it's MT5's turn. And I tell you what, we are pleased with the outcome. As it turns out that MT5 is indeed, at least to me now, a better product than MT4. It has a much more stable architecture and it is much faster. And you will see this today. The optimization is lightning fast, and this can make a big difference. Now, what does auto optimization means to you? Well, it means you will always trade with the best settings because our algorithm will find these best settings for you. So whenever you change symbol, whenever you change time frame, the best settings will be automatically applied. We still have our 3 optimization modes, but as you will see, even the most complex mode, our exhaustive mode, is now incredibly fast. So that was very pleasing to see. And we also feature re-optimization, which will periodically, every number of bars, for example, re-optimize the settings automatically for you. If you don't really know what MT5 is, it is the successor of the incredibly popular MT4, MetaTrader 4. And well, both programs are now coexisting somewhat. MT4 is still, even after 20 years being out there, it seems to be more popular than MT5. And there were good reasons for it back in the day, because MT5 was not as user-friendly at first. It was much harder to program for, and we've realized this over the years ourselves. And lots of things seem to be a bit more clunky, a bit more complicated with MT5. But I'm telling you what, there are also some great things that came with MT5. For example, multi-asset trading. So you can now trade with MT5 pure futures products. We're going to look at this today. You can trade, of course, FX and CFDs as you used to. You can trade pure crypto products and so forth. So it's truly multi-asset, which was not the case with MT4. And we're going to look at this today. And as a reminder, now there are 6. We now have the Powerbundle with auto optimization, Powerbundle AO, available for 6 platforms. So we have them for MetaStock, which is different from MetaTrader. So MetaStock, we have it for TradingView, NinjaTrader 8, Wave, MetaTrader 4, which we introduced 2 weeks ago, and now also for MetaTrader 5. All right, so with that, let's get started. And a quick reminder one more time, if you have questions, feel free to write them into the Q&A section of your Zoom window, and Nicholas will answer them directly or perhaps bring them to my attention. Okay, so Powerbundle with auto optimization for MT5. And you know what, before I go through some slides, let's just switch over to MT5 right away, because I'd like to point out a couple of things. So let me quickly open up MT5, and I'm going to drag this away a little bit. Okay, so a couple of things. I'm going to talk about this chart in a second. Let me just make this a bit bigger so it's a bit easier to see. All right, so this is MT5, and you know, some things are very similar to what MT4 used to look like. You still have your time frame selector up here. You have, you know, your market watch, your navigator down here. You have the data window. That all stayed the same. But some other things are just seem to be a bit more complicated, or a little bit more, I don't know, different. For example, so if you're trading futures, and this is MT5 featured by AMP. AMP is a futures broker. And so if you're trading futures, you may be familiar with that concept. I'm going to explain it to you anyways one more time. The concept of a continuous contract. As we know, futures are, future contracts, they expire. And, you know, the market data actually is pertinent typically to expiring contract, and typically these contracts expire, depending on what you're trading, every 3 months or so. What this also means that technically you will only have, give or take, 3 months of reliable, good market data. And for many traders, this is just well, perhaps not enough, and especially if you want to do a long-term analysis of what is the overall trend of a market. So what futures traders have come up with, and this is really you know, a common construct, it's not pertinent to MT5, is the concept of a continuous contract. And what you can see here is these are typically prefaced by this little @ sign, like @EP, which is the continuous contract for the E-mini S&P 500 futures. And what a continuous contract is basically an aggregation or a concatenation of multiple expiring contracts. So, for example, a contract that expires in June 2023 is then concatenated with the contract that expired in, let's say, March 2023. And we add on to this the expiring contract of December 2022, and so forth, with the objective of having as much historical data available as possible. So if I scroll back here, this is a futures contract. I can scroll back. This is a 1 minute time frame, but I could scroll back. For example, if I go to the daily, quite some time. So years of data is available to me. So here it's 2017. And this is only possible because this is a continuous contract. Now, why am I saying this? Well, there's also one implication of this, and you may guess what it is. And if you can, please write it into the chat window, because continuous contracts cannot be traded. They're purely there for analysis purposes. You cannot trade a continuous contract. And in MetaTrader 5, you can see this by these symbols being grayed out. You can see there's data coming in. They're updating data-wise, but you cannot trade it. And if you right-click on the chart, you can see that one-click trading, the trading panel of MT5, is actually also grayed out because these contracts cannot be traded. So you may ask yourself, so what do I do now? I can't trade these. Well, you can't trade the continuous contract, but you can trade the actual expiring contract. And the way this works in MT5 is you would go on the right-hand side here, you go to symbols, and your market watch. This will open up another dialog. And in here, you can actually see your continuous contracts, which are the ones with the @ sign in front. But you can also see, if I go down here, if I scroll down to the actual contracts, the actual ones, so the real contracts that can be traded, they don't have this @ sign in front. And what we need to do, for example, if we were to trade the S&P 500 E-mini contract, we'll find the one in here, if I can find it somewhere. Let me see it. There we go. So E-mini SP 500, the one that actually expires in June 2023. So I would enable this, and you can do this with all the other contracts too. It's already enabled in my case. And once enabled, it will show up here in MT5. And then you can just open it up, for example. And now you could trade this contract. It's available. So the trading panel is available, for example. But again, why am I saying this? Because let me switch this perhaps to the weekly time frame just to make my point clear, and then I'm going to stop talking about continuous contracts. So you can see here, it doesn't go back very far. I can't even scroll more because this contract, well, the data for this contract only started really in beginning of October last year. That's about it. There's not much more market data available. So if you are a longer time trader, who looks at the daily, the weekly time frame, you cannot do any analysis with this tradable contract. So what do? Well, you go back to your, as you may guess, to your continuous contract. And here, if I go to the weekly time frame, you will see that I do have indeed a lot of data available, as you can see here. So that's the purpose of the continuous contract. And so what we are going to do today, if needed, we are going to do our analysis on the continuous contract, but we would then execute that trade on the tradable contract. All right, so enough theory about talking about continuous and tradable contracts. Let's get started with our Powerbundle for MT5. Okay, so I'm going to switch this over here to the minute time frame just to make a point. So what we can see here, for example, is our S&P 500 indicator, which is part of our Powerbundle, applied to the 1 minute time frame of the continuous contract of the S&P 500s. And then this is the previous version, the older generation of this indicator. What we can see here is that we have our, we have some entry signals here. This was a long entry signal here. Here we had a short entry signal which didn't work out. Here another long entry signal. Here, another long entry signal, which worked out nicely. Here, short, which not really worked out, and so forth. So we do see our, our entry signals here. We also see that we do have, with our entries, exit suggestions, which are these smaller triangles in the opposite direction of the entry triangle. So here, partial exit here, a partial exit here, partial exit here, and so forth, until we're flat. So now, because all our indicators, and I'd like to point this out one more time, is based on the assumption that getting into a trade is only half of the story. Once you're in it, the trade needs to be managed. The trade needs to be exited at some point. This is why all our indicators also have exit suggestions. All right, so far so good. And let me jump into the settings of this indicator. And I would like you to observe something. So as you can see here, we do have our little statistics box in the top left corner. And if you know our indicators, you already know what these means. These are the historical win rates of our signals, historically speaking. We can see that in the long direction. In the look-back period, we had an efficiency of 64.88%, and for short, 64.52%. So pretty much the same long or short. All right, so this gives you an idea of how well this indicator has been working, historically speaking, on the symbol and on this time frame. But what's also really cool is that, if I go into my settings, for example, I make a change. Maybe I change my volatility period from 7 to, I don't know, 20, for example. I click OK. You can see it updates immediately. So now my long efficiency, I guess, went up. I forgot what the number was before. Changed to 66.27%, and my short efficiency actually went down to 58%. All right, maybe not a great change. So maybe let me go back one more time into the settings of the indicator and perhaps change it back to maybe, I don't know, 15. So I'll do this, click OK, and as soon as I do this, it updates again. Now it's 67% to the long side and 61% win rate to the downside. All right, a bit better. So maybe I'm onto something. So maybe let me now tweak the volume period, perhaps from 34 to, I don't know, 25. So again, I do this one more time, click OK, changed again. Okay, so I might be able to find the perfect settings for this indicator by just changing all these things, changing these settings. It is doable, and this is how our previous generation of the Powerbundle works. But you may think, oh man, this is terrible. This is so slow. This is tedious. I will never gonna do this. I'm just gonna use the default settings. And guess what? You are not alone. So if I go back to my slides, I just would like to point out that finding these best settings manually is a big challenge. It's not easy. It's super, super tiring. And if something is too tiring and too tedious, you will either fall asleep or not do it in the first place. And we'll completely agree with you, it is tiring. This is why we have now enhanced our latest generation of the Powerbundle with an auto optimization feature, which, as the name suggests, will find the best settings for you. We'll do it automatically. So whenever you change symbol, whenever you change time frame, always the optimal settings will be applied. All right, let's check it out. So back to the charts, and let me switch over one more time to my MT5. And I'm going to keep the same chart open. I'm just going to apply a different indicator to it. So we're still going to be on the S&P 500 E-mini futures contract on the 1 minute time frame. But now I'm going to load our latest generation of the indicator to it. All right, so let me just quickly refresh this. And once this is refreshed, you can now see that, well, the first thing you can see is that, let me just zoom this in a little bit, that, wow, our efficiencies seem to be a little bit higher. Now we're at 86.49% for long efficiency, at 87% for the short side. Wow, that's pretty cool. And you may wonder, which settings would give me these statistics? Well, you actually can find out. So if you're a bit savvy with MT5, you could open up your terminal window, Control T. This opens up this little panel down here. Sometimes you have to drag it up a little bit. And then in the experts subpanel here, you can see that while these settings here, volatility period of 5, volume period of 15, MA period of 5, and slow MA period of 40 will give you these settings. You can note them down and, perhaps keep them for your record if you want to do so. And if we look through these signals, I guess you can already guess that, well, these seem to be working out quite nicely. So this was a nice long entry here. We're still in this trade. Here, a previous long entry, which was triggered also today, a few hours ago, very nicely. Another one here. So we basically caught all the nice up move that we had in the S&P 500 today. Here, a short entry. Here, a long entry that didn't work out. This happened, of course, as well. Here, a short entry, which had one winner, and I guess one more or less break even here. Here, along that worked out initially and then not, and so forth. But over the course of time, without having to scroll back through the entire history or through the history up until the starting point, the statistics will tell us that these are our win rates to the long and the short side. So that's a pretty convenient feature that with these optimal parameters, the win rates have actually gone up significantly. Okay, so this is how the optimization works. And but there's more to it. This is not all. So if you look at, and I'm going to scroll back a little bit again. If you look at this statistics box here, you can see it says optimization mode simplified. Why is this word there? Well, there's also a reason for this, because if we go to the settings of the indicator, we can see that there's indeed a parameter called, if I find it, called optimization mode. And it's set to simplified. It's because of the same value here. And below this, it also says configurations tested 144. What does that mean? It means that in the simplified mode, our optimization algorithm has gone through 144 different parameter combinations to come up with the best settings. And there's some logic to it, which combinations it tests, but in total, 144 combinations have been tested. All right, but what else do we have? Do we have something else than simplified? Well, if you click here, you can see we have two different modes, standard and exhaustive. Okay, let's apply standard. I'm gonna click OK. All right, and as soon as this reloads, you can see now that this may take a little while. And once I refresh this, give me 1 second, we can now see that, wow, a total of 1,056 combinations have been tested, as you can see here. And our long efficiency and short efficiency actually have, this is not, just a second. Sometimes I need to refresh because MT5 is still loading some data in the background. But once this has been done, we can see that our statistics actually have been gone up significantly to 88.89% and now 91.32% to the short side. And as you can see here, it actually does look, even better than it already looked before. And this is exactly what you can do with these optimization modes. And we have simplified, we have standard, and there's one more. It's called exhaustive. And exhaustive actually will go through more than 4,000 different combinations of settings to find the best ones. And you know what's so cool about MT5? I'm not going to do it right now because I don't want to waste time, but even the exhaustive mode, it will only take a couple of seconds to go through all these 4,000 combinations. And this is really something that we observe with MT5. It is lightning fast. So this can be, if you're still, pending or not, haven't decided yet, should I use MT4, MT5? Perhaps the speed factor in terms of how complex algorithms, how complex indicators can be calculated is quite improved in MT5. All right, so this was the just an example of the S&P 500 futures, but let me now switch over to a different MT5 installation. This was a futures broker, AMP. And of course, there are other brokers available who support MT5 as well. So I'm going to switch over to this one here. And we're going to look at, let me just refresh this one more time as well. We're going to look at USD CAD. I read somewhere that was the FX symbol of the week or something. So I wanted to see, hey, what's up with that? Why is that? Is there something interesting there to see? What we can see here is that, well, first of all, this is a 5-minute chart. And again, our 1 to 3 strike indicator is applied to it, as you can see here. It gives us these nice signals across the board. But we can also see that, the long efficiency seems to be a bit better than the short efficiency. So long efficiency is at 80% and short efficiency is at 60%. So what does this actually tell us? Well, it tells us that long signals tend to have worked out, historically speaking, better than short signals. And if I scroll through this chart here, you might get the feeling for this as well. So, we had a couple of not so good short trades here. This one perhaps was not bad, but overall long trades seem to have worked out a bit better. So you as a trader, you can take advantage of this because, if one trade direction seems to be working better than the other, what do? Well, you would focus only on that trade direction. Perhaps ignore all the short signals and focus on the long ones only because, these seem to be working better right now. All right. So this is 1 to 3 strike. And if you know our indicators, you already know how this indicator works. So these are our entry signals. You have exits here and so forth, the statistics and everything else. But let's switch over to our second indicator in the Powerbundle, which is divergence cloud. So divergence cloud is our counter trend indicator. So the 1 to 3 strike was for trend trading, but now let's check out divergence cloud for counter trend trading. So what do we have here? We have a chart of Bitcoin. And this brings me to another good point. So our indicators in general, they work with every asset class. It doesn't matter if you trade futures, it doesn't matter if you trade FX or cryptos, like in this case, or perhaps individual stocks. They will work on all these symbols. It also doesn't matter if you're using MT4, MT5, or perhaps NinjaTrader or Modif Wave. Our indicators will work on all these popular platforms. But what can we see here, for example? Well, we can see that we have these greenish clouds and reddish clouds every once in a while. These are indications of divergence. And if you are familiar with this concept, divergence is, I always call it a disagreement of price moving somewhere, perhaps downwards or perhaps in this case upwards initially, and then an underlying indicator forecasting a different price move. And if this happens, if they don't agree, we call this a divergence. And oftentimes, this is a telltale sign that something is about to change. Perhaps an uptrend will come to an end, and perhaps reverse to the downside, or vice versa. Perhaps a downtrend come to an end and will reverse to the upside again. And this is exactly what this indicator strives to do. So these reddish clouds indicate bearish divergence, meaning that an uptrend might come to an end and reverse, or a green cloud indicates bullish divergence, that a downtrend will come to an end and reverse to the upside. And similarly to 1 to 3 strike, we also have our entry signals here, these bigger arrows. So here a short entry, or here a long entry, and we have our exit suggestions as well, because as mentioned before, getting into a trade just as important as getting out of it.
Hi, Daniel.
Yes, hi.
Does this work with synthetic indices?
Oh, yes, anything. Yeah, it doesn't matter. So in fact, most FX brokers, they don't give you the pure Bitcoin to trade. I'm not even sure this is the actual pure Bitcoin contract. It's probably a CFD based on the Bitcoin price or something. But yeah, it will work with CFDs or anything synthetic as well.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Now, so one more thing about Divergence Cloud is we also have our statistics available, of course, and we have our optimizations available for Divergence Cloud as well. So we have simplified, this optimization mode, standard, and also exhaustive. And we can see here, well, it seems to have worked out quite nicely, 72% to the upside and 78% to the bearish side. But that's one thing I wanted to show you. If I go all the way to the end, first of all, you can see that we had a a short entry signal here, but you can also see these two little arrows here. So what are these? Well, actually, these are, if you know MT4, MT5, these are indications of your previous trade that you actually executed. And why am I talking about this? This is a 1 hour chart, by the way. Well, because I took a trade while I was preparing for this webinar. I took a trade previously. But you may say, man, why did you take a trade when there's a big downwards arrow here to the long side? Because this is a long trade, as you can see here. Well, the reason is I didn't take this trade on the hourly time frame. I actually took it on the 1 minute time frame. This is an important point I wanted to make, that because even if perhaps on the higher time frame you may have a sell signals, there can always be times of retracement, and we're on such a retracement right now, which you can use to perhaps do a counter trend trade or a trade in the opposite direction. So if we now switch over to the 1 minute time frame, actually it's here. Let me just open this one up. We can actually see that I did indeed took a trade right here. Let me just disable the scrolling for 1 second. I took this trade right here, following this green entry signal here, which was given to me by the Divergence Cloud algorithm. Now, a couple of things. First of all, you may say, why is this entry all the way up here? That's crazy. Well, so this was a long trade. And this is important to know about MT4 or MT5. So long trades are filled at the ask price, right? So, but the chart, every chart in MT4 or MT5 always only shows the bid price. That's the price you can sell at, but you can't buy at this price. So the ask price is always higher than the bid price. You can see this here in the market watch as well. If you compare the ask price with the bid price, you will see that the ask price is always bigger than the bid price. In this case, $2 bigger than, it's a difference of $2 here. We call this a spread. So this difference between ask and bid is the spread. And since this was a 1 minute time frame, I actually only got my fill, even though I executed here, all the way up here, which happens to be roughly $2 higher than the ask price. And you can actually measure this. If I can find my tool here, I go from here all the way down to here, you can see it's roughly, well, maybe even a bit more, maybe even the spreads were even higher at this point. It looks like it was roughly at $4 difference. Nonetheless, I took that trade, and price followed through quite nicely, and I exited this trade when after all my 4 partial exits have come up, and then I closed down the trade a bit late because I didn't pay attention to it, but indeed this would have been a nice trade. And the point being is that even the algo or even the indicator will tell you you are in, oops, this is still the, you are in a short trade. I'll just go to the end here. Once this loads up, even though on the higher time frame you might be looking for a short trade, in between there's always room to perhaps do a quick scalping trade to the long side. All right, so this was Divergence Cloud for Bitcoin, but let me switch over perhaps to a different symbol. This is a CFD indeed, so we're just talking about CFDs. Oh, by the way, one quick note for all of you out there who are wondering what the hell is going on, why are these clouds now bluish? This has to do with how MT5 handles the shading. And what you need to do in this case is simply click on refresh. You've seen me do this a couple of times already, and then the colors will go back to their normal colors, so reddish and greenish. So here we have the US 500 CFD. That's a CFD mimicking the S&P 500 index. All right, and we are on the 1 hour time frame. What we can see here is that again, Divergence Cloud is giving us the nice background coloring of the cloud color, which you can use as a filter for your own trading. And you also have our entry signals here, so it forecasted quite nicely the big up move we had today, and so forth. But perhaps you may, like many traders, say, okay, this is a chart of a big stock index, the S&P 500 index. Perhaps I only want to be positioned long because historically speaking, particularly on the longer time frames, the S&P 500 has been going up. So it's a very bullish index. There's an upside bias. So I'm only looking for long entries. Okay, that's the reason why I'm saying this, because by default, the optimization algorithm will optimize for the best signals, both long and short. It basically looks for the highest average for our long efficiency and our short efficiency. Whatever settings will give us the highest average, these will be used. But if you're only trading long, you may not want to trade short at all. So why would we optimize at all for short signals? It's a good point. I wouldn't. So what we did is we actually added a parameter to our indicators, which is called trading style. And then trading style can indicate whether you want to have long or short signals, or perhaps only trade long or only trade short. So if I say long only, what will happen now is that the indicator will recalculate and you will only get your long entry signals. You'll still get the bearish clouds, yeah, but you will only get long entry signals and exits for these long trades. And what's also important is that the optimization is now done only for the long trades to give you the best possible long trades. And that was very important to us, because now if you have this bias, if you have this constraint perhaps that you can only trade long, perhaps your investment account doesn't allow you to go short at all, then you should use this setting, because now you get the best signals for trading long. Now we have an efficiency of 77.78%, which is a bit higher than what we had before. All right, and perhaps one last example. Let me switch over. Same indicator to Euro USD. Again, on the 1 hour time frame. And again, you can see that also on pure FX pairs, this indicator tends to be working out quite nicely with some really cool signals that we had in the last couple of days. This is again a 1 hour time frame, and our efficiencies to the long and short side are at 73 and 81%. So you can see here, this has been working out on this pair quite nicely over the last couple of days. Okay. But there's one more indicator I want to go through, and I apologize if you're not familiar with our Powerbundle offering. There are actually 3 indicators in that bundle. The first one is 1 to 3 strike, our trend trading indicator. We saw this indicator in the beginning. Then we also have divergence cloud, which is our counter trend indicator. It's this one here. But we have one more, which is called volatility crusher, and volatility crusher is our breakout indicator, looking for price breakouts. So let me switch over one more time to my AMP MT5 version. I'm going to open up the 10-year notes futures contract. So here I have applied volatility crusher. So let me quickly explain to you how this one works. It may look in terms of statistics quite similar to what you've seen before. And yes, it works basically the same way. Here we have used the standard optimization mode. 576 configurations were tested. And in our look back period, which is this one up here, we can see that to the long side, we get an efficiency of 85%, and to the short side, an efficiency of even 100%. Wow, everything worked out to the short side in this look back period. All right, so let's see how this indicator works. So every once in a while, we're getting these boxes printed on the chart. This is our breakout box. When our price breaks out of this box and some other factors come together, either a short entry signal or a long entry signal is generated. So here we had 2 short entry signals. And once we are in a trade, the indicator will show us right away where is our first profit target, where is our second profit target, and where is our stop loss. And the stop loss is actually a trading stop. You can see here, it's being tightened as this trade works out. So for this particular trade, we hit our first profit target a couple of bars later, then our second profit target, perhaps 20 bars later, and then the trade closed out. Same here. First profit target was hit quite early on, then the second one just a couple of bars later on without hitting the stop loss. Now let me go through a couple of more trades. If I scroll back here, we can see that here we had 2 long trades, which worked out quite nicely. So both times the profit targets were hit. Oh, here we had a really big short trade. Sometimes when this breakout box is this big, I tend to not take those trades because then our targets are quite far away. And another reason is that perhaps most of the move has already occurred, but in this case, yeah, it worked out quite nicely, and we also had two winners. Both our targets were hit. Let me just see if we can find a case where we hit the stop loss. Here, for example, we did hit our stop loss. We had a long signal at this point here, and we didn't hit our targets. Instead, we hit our trailing stop. And of course, this can always happen. No indicator is perfect. You will have losers. What's important is that in the long run, the odds will be in your favor. All right. So perhaps one more example. Let's look at gold. Oh, this was the 50-minute time frame, but now let's look at gold, the E-mini gold futures on the 1-minute time frame. And we can see here that, let me just switch this off real quick. We can see here that we once again we had a couple of nice short trades here. This long trade hit the first profit target up here, but the second one is yet to be hit. And let me just scroll through it. Here we had a couple of nice long trades. Here we had a case which was quite interesting. We had a long trade which first hit the first profit target. So we booked partial profits here, but then hit the trading stop. So this was basically perhaps a break-even trade or perhaps a slight winner. All right, perfect. And again, this was done in simplified mode. And we can see here long efficiency of 66 and short efficiency of 85%. Now you may say, it's not great. I've seen better already. So perhaps can we improve this a bit? And one thing you can do is to play with the optimization mode. So simplified is the fastest optimization. It tests for, in this case, for 144 combinations. But perhaps we can improve this a bit by changing it up. Perhaps changing it to, where are we? To standard optimization. I click OK. And once the optimization is done, you can see, well, it did improve quite a bit. Now we have tested 576 combinations, and now long efficiency at 94%, short efficiency at 78%. Wow, that's improved things. And this is something you can do, especially with MT5, because MT5 is so fast. Even this calculation didn't take very long. And just for the fun of it, let me just do it one more time for the exhaustive mode. So I'm going back to my settings one more time, and now I'm changing it from standard to exhaustive. Let's see how long this takes. So I'm closing it. You see, things may disappear for a couple of seconds, but hopefully not too long. They will come back. And now we even have, on our look back period, a 100% hit rate for the long and the short side. That's pretty cool. And we tested altogether 1,296 combinations of parameters. But as you could see here, this was fast. It only took, 3 seconds, 4 seconds. So that's pretty good. And if that's acceptable to you, and I would perhaps always use the exhaustive mode, or perhaps at least the standard mode, because if it loads fast enough, why not? Perhaps one remark, sometimes the more complex the optimization is, the fewer signals will be found. So there's a bit of a drawback because it's very selective at that point, only the highest possible trades. So this is why I personally prefer the standard mode, because it gives you a decent amount of trades and typically improves your efficiencies to the long and short side.
Hi, Daniel.
Yeah.
Paul wants to know what determines the look back period for the optimization.
Yeah, good question. Actually, that's a user parameter you can use. So if you go to the settings here, in this case, volatility crusher, you can scroll down and which one? Oh, it's this one here. So this parameter here, IET. IET is our acronym for these statistics. It stands for Instant Efficiency Technology. A term we came up a couple of years back, / optimization look back. And that's basically the number of bars you're optimizing on. And these statistics are also calculated based on these number of bars. And observe, here we had 2,000 bars look back, which on this time frame, which is the 5-minute time frame, looked back, and you can see this actually here, all the way to May 9th. So 10 days ago, give or take. All right. So if I change this now, let's say to, 1,000, or 1,500, let's say. I click OK. You will see this will update automatically. So now it will update to, it's calculating now, but it will update to a different date. Now the look back date is May 11th. And this is how you can basically play around with these look back periods.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Nicola?
Not yet. You're clear to go.
Clear to go. Perfect. Okay. All right. So perhaps one more example. Which one did I have? I'm going to switch over one more time to my FX broker here. I'm going to open up a volatility crusher on this pair here, which is the pound USD. Pound USD is, at least people say it, fundamentals say it, that it's a quite a volatile pair. Tends to make moves quite in a volatile fashion. And it turns out that volatility crusher actually prefers these kind of pairs. Let me just refresh this real quick. Because it's looking for quick breakouts. So let's have a look. 1 second, it's just reloading. How this turns out on this particular that's reloaded on this particular pair. So here again we had long efficiency of 80% and short efficiency of 100%. You can see this here. This was a partial winner. So we had one entry here with our first target. Actually, it was a complete loser in this case. Well, yeah, it was a small loser. So here we hit our trading stop. Luckily, the trading stop was trailed up a bit. So this would have been, we would have entered at this point here. So a fairly small loss. Here, a winner. Here, a winner to the short side, and then we hit our trailing stop, which I believe is a bit below our entry. Entry would have been here. This would have also been counted as a full winner. Here, a short trader was a winner, and so forth. So even on FX pairs, our volatility crusher indicator tends to work out quite nicely. And my theory is if it's an FX pair that is a bit more volatile, it will give you even better statistics along the way and better signals. Okay, so with this, I'm going to switch over back to the charts. Sorry, back to the slides. And we already talked about the 3 indicators in our power bundle, one for trend trading, one for reversals, and one for sideways. And just a quick summary is that all 3 indicators that we've seen, they come with both entry and exit signals, because as I always say, getting into a trade is one thing, but it is at least as important to get out of the trade properly at the right moment. This is why we always have these exit signals of all our indicators. They will run on every time frame. So whether you're a scalper, a day trader, a swing trader, an investor, they will work on all these time frames that you would use there and on all asset classes. It doesn't matter if you trade FX or futures or stocks or ETFs. They will run. They will all give you these statistics and these little boxes that you've seen showing you the long and short win rates. And now in this latest generation, they will also give you the full auto optimization feature. And as mentioned on MT5, and perhaps this could be a selling factor to you to maybe try out MT5, they are lightning fast on that platform. So that was pretty awesome to see when we developed the indicator.
Daniel.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you, but on the topic of auto optimization, we have a question from Paul. It's the second one. Is there a way to trigger the auto optimization based on some numbers of bars passed or something else like that? Do you think you have time to go over re-optimization?
Yes. Actually, this is a perfect segue. So thanks, Paul, for asking this question. Let me talk a little bit more about what you need to know about optimization, and this will transition nicely over to what we call re-optimization. So let's have a look. So here, now, what do you need to know about optimization? Because you may say, wow, this looks pretty awesome, as Daniel has shown it, but there are a couple of things which are actually important. So the optimizer will find the best settings for you, and it will then apply these settings to the chart. So basically, the signals you will see, they will always relative to the best settings. Now, so far so good, but this can have a drawback because let's say you took a trade based on a signal that one of our indicators has generated using the optimized settings. So you enter that trade, and then you may come back, I don't know, a day later or 2 days later, you had shut down MT5 or MT4. It works the same on MT4. Meanwhile, you reopen it up, and now this entry signal has disappeared. And then you may be angry, oh man, Daniel, what's happening? Is this indicator repainting? Well, yes and no. Well, first of all, it is technically not repainting because it's just following its own recipe in which it will always use the optimal settings. So if you, for example, trade a small time frame and then shut down MT5 and open it up a day later, much more bars have been developed since you shut down MT5. And now the optimizer will take into account these newly printed bars to find the best settings and will reapply the indicator with these settings to the chart. And as a result, some of the entry signals which you may have seen before may disappear. Now, this is why we have put into our indicators 2 safeguards for this. So let me show you what these are. So back to my MT5 here. So the first thing you can do is you can always see what are my optimal settings. You can see this here. So whenever you take a trade, you can note down, okay, which settings were used for that trade signal I just followed. You can see those here in the output window. And you can take a screenshot or write them down. And then if you don't want to use the indicator to use these optimal settings, you can tell the indicator, hey, listen, for the time being, while I am in that trade, use my manually input settings. So the settings that you see here, you can manually put them in here into these parameters. Okay. And you will tell the indicator as well, do not optimize. You switch this parameter, optimize on load, to false. And once you do this, the settings that you use for your trade, or the signal that you use for your trade, will always stay where it was, because you will use the same settings that the indicator used when the trade was taken or when this original signal was generated. Okay, so that's one thing. But the other thing is that we actually have a feature in our indicators, and in all 3 indicators indeed, which is called re-optimization. By default, it's switched off, but you can switch it on by just changing this parameter here. And let me just switch this, for example, just for the time being, to this value here, interval in bars. What does that mean? It means when this feature is enabled, that every 30 bars, as you can see by this parameter, the indicator will re-optimize. So every 30 bars or whatever number you enter, maybe 50 bars, the indicator will re-optimize. And as a result of this, it may be that every 50 bars, a new set of parameters may be deemed optimal, and therefore previously printed signals may disappear, and perhaps new signals may reoccur because now a different configuration for the indicator was used. And you may say, man, this might not be ideal because maybe my trade signal will just disappear and so forth while I'm in a trade. This is why we actually added a second re-optimization mode, which is called when flat. This basically means, so let me give you an example. Whenever the indicator goes flat, in this case, when the second target was hit, it will re-optimize. Basically ensuring you that while you're in a trade, if you follow this trade, this signal will always stay there. These targets will always stay there. They will not disappear or change as a result of re-optimization. And we added this, this re-optimization mode purposefully, because then you can just follow along your trade until it's closed out, and then you don't care if it's re-optimizing or not. I hope this makes sense. This is what this new re-optimization mode will do for you. All right. Nicholas, do you think that explained it?
Yeah, I think that was a great explanation.
Awesome. Okay, so back to my slides. All right, so this is what you need to know about optimization. Okay, so who are these indicators for? And I already touched on this a little bit. So it doesn't really matter what kind of trader you are and what kind of trading personality you have. So you might be a a short-term trader or perhaps a medium-term trader or even an investor, you can use these indicators. You might be a trend follower or perhaps a counter-trend trader. You can use our indicators because our Power Bundle has different types of indicators built in, one for each trading style. Also doesn't really matter what you trade. So if you trade stocks or perhaps Forex or futures or cryptos, you can use our indicators as well because they are asset class agnostic, as we say, and they work on all asset classes and symbols. And of course, if you are a little bit like me, an engineer at heart, and believe that a good tool or tools are essential to make your life easier and more efficient, and tools have a reason to be there because they will do the heavy lifting for you. In our case, the optimization algorithm will find the best parameters for you, so you don't have to. And you believe that, and I believe these indicators can be for you, especially in combination with MT5. MT5 is lightning fast. It's a much newer product than MT4. And I think over the years, maybe in a couple of years, it will definitely take out MT4, and MT4 will eventually disappear. As mentioned 2 weeks ago, it is a super old tool, MT4. Some of the libraries are now deemed unsafe when it comes to Windows installation. So it's time for a change there. So if you want to give the MT5 version a shot, we do have a special offer for you. Where you will get all these indicators that I've shown you, 1, 2, 3 strike, you get a divergence cloud, volatility crusher, you get our brand new auto optimization algo, you will get our real-time statistics. We're also going to throw in our masterclass on how to use these indicators, and you will get in a complementary fashion our trend radar indicator, which I couldn't even talk about today. I'm going to show you a screenshot in a second. So all of this, we've bundled it up. And if you're interested, we're offering it for life still. We're about to change to a subscription model, and you can see that our website is already starting to change. So lifetime access will go away sooner than later, as soon as we are set up. But for now, we still have the lifetime option available. And once you take advantage of this, there will be no subsequent payments needed. That's a one-time payment, and you have these indicators for life. And if you don't know us yet or haven't worked with us yet, you can look us up at the Better Business Bureau. We have the best possible rating as a business at the Better Business Bureau. So if you want to take advantage of this, go to tradingindicators.com/AO. Perhaps, Nicholas, you can put the link also into the chat. Go there and it will bring you to the product page where you can get our Power Bundle with optimization for MT5, or perhaps if you want to use a different platform, you can get it also for MT4, for Ninja, for Modifway, for TradingView, and so forth. And for the lazy ones of you, you can also simply scan this QR code. And if you're among the first clients, we will offer you a $100 additional discount to the lifetime price. And all you need to do is to enter this coupon code MT, like MT for MetaTrader, so MT100. And if you do so, then you will get the Power Bundle for $897 instead of $997. All right, so this is for the first 10 customers. All right, and I mentioned that you will get one additional goodie with our package, which is the Trend Radar indicator, which is an indicator that looks like this, like a heat map. It's shown below the chart, and it's a very handy tool to see what is the short-term trend, medium-term trend, and long-term trend doing. For example, you may see right away that, wow, this symbol is in a long-term uptrend when everything is green, as you can see here at the bottom. That's our long-term indication. But every once in a while, we have at the short or medium-term level a bearish phase, and these are called pullbacks. And what this indicator is designed to do, among other things, is to identify what we call these healthy pullbacks. Because if you're a trend trader, a healthy pullback is a great opportunity, because it gives you a great entry price before the overarching trend is continuing. This is what this indicator is designed to detect. These healthy pullbacks, these shallow pullbacks, when price retraces, takes a pause, you get in the trade, and then price hopefully will continue in the overarching trend direction. And this not only gives you a great price, but also takes a lot of risk off the table because you can put your stop loss just below the pullback level. Instead of, so the stop loss will be very narrow. So we're going to throw in this indicator into our package as well. And on top of this, before we open up the room for questions, we're also going to throw in our ebook on how divergence can predict market moves in advance based on our own proprietary technique of our calculation of divergence, which is a bit different from what other people do. But we have found out in our research lab that is perhaps the most predictive one. You will also get access to our 5-hour masterclass on demand, which will give you all the information that you need to know about the Powerbundle indicators. And of course, you will always be invited to our bi-weekly Tech Talks, and you will become part of our community, which is perhaps the most important part, at least for us. Because our mantra is that let's be successful together as a community. All right, so Nicholas, are there any questions at this point?
We have a couple questions, yes.
Okay.
So a couple people want to know, they came in late. Do attendees receive a recording by email?
Yes, 100%.
Perfect.
And you can also just check our YouTube channel. If you don't get this email, it will definitely be posted there within the next 24 hours. But you should also receive an email.
Thank you. And Darius wants to know, is there a power user group where you can apply to be a member and experiment with new features before they come out?
That's a great question. Right now, there is not, but perhaps we're going to... So a bit of a backstory here. We are in the process of changing lots of things and trading indicators to your benefit. So one thing is a better homepage, which we're designing right now. The second thing is that we're creating a Discord channel with different levels and different objectives. And one such channel could be like a power user group, as you said, where we can have perhaps an interaction, often trying things out, or perhaps beta testing certain things. So this is in the making. I know I've announced this perhaps already a couple of months ago. It's just things sometimes take a bit longer if you want to do it properly. But we are setting it up, and this is definitely in the making. It's a future project, which will come for sure this summer.
Perfect. And last one from Rodney, is adding the signals package on top of this helpful? I think he is referring to super signals.
Yes, it will be helpful, but I should say that right now we do not have our super signals available for MT4, MT5. It's again in the works, and we're about to release it in the next month or so. But yes, I believe it would be. But currently, these are not available for MT4, MT5. We have them for Ninja, for MotiveWave, and TradingView and other platforms, but currently not for MT4, MT5. But this is just a matter of time.
Thanks, Daniel. That's all.
Great. Okay, great. Before you guys leave, so should you, decide to go for the Powerbundle, just a quick note about installation. So basically, what you will get, let me just quickly go to my, let me just go here to my Windows Explorer. I'm just going to go quickly to, I shouldn't have done that, but it doesn't matter. Go to my home folder. And so there we go. Then I go to downloads. Okay, perfect. So what you will get as part of your installation is, oh my goodness. As you can see, I have a lot of files in my, there we go. I was looking for this one here. So you will get a zip file, which looks like this as part of your confirmation email. So this zip file, you will first of all unpack. So you can, depending on what version of Windows you have or what you have installed, you can simply choose the extract to a folder option, like this one here. You click on it, and then this will be extracted into a subfolder like this, MT5 Powerbundle AO. And if you open it up, you will see in there actually 4 files, not just 3, because you may think 3 because, well, 3 indicators, 3 files, but there's actually a DLL also needed, which is required by the optimization algorithm and also for other reasons. So you will copy all these 4 files, copy them, Control C. You will copy all of them into your MT5 data folder. You can find this folder under File, Open Data folder, which will open up another window. That's the second. Here we go. Then you navigate to MQL5 and then to indicators. And this is where you need to copy all these 4 files. So paste. In my case, I will get a message that these files already exist. And then once copied in, these files are now available to be opened up in MT5. So now let me go back to MT5. And in here, either you restart MT5 or you just do right click on refresh, and then you will have these indicators available. Now, but there's one more thing you need to do, just real quick. So let me just open up 1, 2, 3 strike here. 2 important things you need to do, actually 3. So under dependencies in your settings menu, you must check allow DLL imports. Otherwise, it will not even allow you to apply the indicator. So this must be checked. Do not worry about the potentially dangerous warning. I assure you that our DLL is not dangerous. It's simply there to calculate certain aspects of the indicator. So this must be checked. And then you can close this out because there's one more thing you need to do under Tools and Options. Okay, if you go to Expert Advisor, and I understand that these are indicators and not EAs, but nonetheless, it's grouped under Expert Advisors. You will also need to check Allow DLL Imports. So both these check boxes need to be checked. All right, so make sure of that. And then you go back to the settings here. And under Inputs, you will then enter the license key and email address. So the email address is the email address that you used for your purchase. And the license key is part of your confirmation email. You will paste this in here. And once done, the indicator will be applied. If you don't do it, like in my case, I leave this empty, you will get an error message like here, license validation error, because you would need to enter this in there. And what I suggest is that you will, enter your license key up here, whatever it is. Your license key will be given to you. You put your email address here, and then once it's in there, whatever, you will then save these in a set file. Therefore, you can load it very quickly back onto the chart. Alternatively, you could also save this as a template in MT5. All right. So this is what I wanted to just point out, that it's, these steps are needed when you want to install the MT5 Powerbundle. And as a reminder, if you want to take advantage of our special offer, you will get $100 off by simply entering MT100 as a coupon code. And you can go to this URL, tradingindicators.com/AO. All right. So I trust that Nicholas did a great job answering most of your questions, but should we have not gotten to your question, or perhaps it was too long or maybe too complicated, please email us this question at info@tradingindicators.com. Your feedback is what drives us and what keeps us developing new features. So any question is absolutely welcome. We're happy to answer all your questions. And of course, you can also always find us at tradingindicators.com, our homepage. Simply go to the contact form, which we have on the homepage, and enter your question there as well. So both are possible. And Nicholas, is there any other question at this point?
Nope, you're good to go.
Awesome. All of that. I thank you all for your time tonight. I know your time is precious. So thank you so much for spending the last hour with me. And I'm already looking forward to our next Tech Talk, which will be held in exactly 2 weeks' time from now. So until then, have a nice trading weeks ahead of you. Thank you. Bye-bye.